strange. Huh. All right. There we go. Okay, now I see what's going on. All right. So, I thought we'd do something a little fun today. We're not working too hard today. I thought we'd do something a little more fun. We're going to just go back through all of the Linux Systems Administration stuff. We're not going to be able to obviously dig into it nearly as deep as we did the course, right? But we can pull it up. We can have a little fun with it. Talk about some of the things that we did and what we managed to go through. Oh, my mouse is not behaving right now. All right. So we'll go look through things, and I mean, we're probably not even going to get through all of it, but we'll talk through what we can and talk about whatever's going on. So let me pull this up here all the way up to, because we ran everything in Discord, right? So all of it's up here. If anybody needs any of this stuff or wants to go look at it later, you guys could. Oh yeah, that was when I was still doing it in the I was releasing them in text form as well. That's kind of funny. All right. So here's the beginning of the course right here. A little further up. All right. There we go. All right, yeah, so let's see what the slides and what we went through each week kind of look like. I mean, you won't get as much out of this of me just talking through it, but I don't know, maybe it'll jog some memory for people that kind of stuck it out and finished it. Yeah, we're going to speed run it. Let's think of it like that. So Linux Systems Administration Unit 1, I don't even know what the units are until I go back and look from the course. So questions asked me in the Discord, if we had any reschedules. Review the syllabus. So the syllabus was this doc here. And the syllabus, just to go into it real quick, was what course we're running. Here's the kind of course description, what we're trying to do, and I wanted you to spend at least 120 hours on both theory and labs, and a lot of you guys did some group projects and some other stuff. Actually, interesting. I don't know why my visuals are going real slow real quick. Give me a second here, guys. I do not know what's going on here. I'm seeing things like even my mouse is being clippy, and that's not normal. All right, so Linux Systems Administration course, right? That's what we're doing. Come down here, we talked about what we were going to learn, and I think that people did the course probably learned most of these areas. You know, we didn't focus on the hardware components as much, but we did build out home labs and did do all this different type of stuff. I mean, people had the option of building their own home labs instead of using my labs or some of these other systems that were in there. Give me one more second here. I might have to reset something here. This is, you know what? Just go ahead and close that down and that down. Maybe that'll make everything run a little. I mean, it looks like it's running a little smoother. All right, command line. We did command line every single week. You know, you're just going to learn that kind of as we go. We did some basic scripting and understood some of the components. I brought in a couple different guest speakers that talked about scripting and those kind of things. We did a lot with Linux networking. We even troubleshot it. We did a lot with Linux security of patching our systems, hardening them on the network, getting them on the network, and making sure they remain available on the network. We did a lot with automation, specifically Ansible and those type of tools. We implemented the networking in Linux, so not just understanding it, we implemented it and made sure it worked. We did a lot of troubleshooting, and then we did some benchmarking and baseline. So I think we got a good amount of kind of the Linux Systems Administration stuff done. Down here are the course objectives of the things that you should be able to do by the time we're done. And we won't touch every one of these right now, but I think most people that stuck with the course would say, yeah, I at least have a strong understanding of each of these components. So, all right. Come down here. Here was the resources. We had all of the killer coda labs. You guys could do all that, all you wanted. That's free. We had my lab resources down here, right? And you could access those, and we had some RAID set up and some other stuff, and people use those pretty heavily. I don't have usage resources. I probably could go back, because I do have all of the login information from Promtail and Loki. I probably could go back and give us usage numbers if people were interested in that. Like if you just wanted to see like how much were people using the labs over the last 16 weeks, that might be kind of a fun little project. Maybe I'll put that together and then just have like a graph of how I won't put out like who did it, but I would say how many unique users we had and that kind of stuff. I think that would be kind of fun for people. You could run your own. So a lot of people built out Proxmox systems for this, so people were running their own stuff, and I got to see some of the different people's labs when we were working on stuff. So that was pretty good. All right, this was my little drawing of our connection. You came in off the internet. You hit the streamer1 user at prolug.asuscom.com. That was that's a dynamic DNS. You can always get there, right? And then you come into a jail, and then you go jump into any of the Rocky 1 through 19 boxes. Now, right now, because of what happened in the lab, you have Rocky 1 through 10, and then I have 3 troubleshoot scenarios that you can use for like Rocky 11 and 12, 13, 14, and 15, and 16, and you could use those troubleshooting scenarios for this last little setup that we did. So that was what we had. I did a little bit of the back end. We didn't dig into that too much, but this was the idea of how you connected into the lab, right? And people were connecting, again, for the entire 16 weeks. I'm going to leave all that open at least until the 19th, but probably even longer because there's no reason to tear it all down. But I might maybe move it into a smaller little bucket, and then maybe I'll publish a better drawing of this and show you guys where all the lab access is at. And then that'll be there in the future. When I started, we had 60 people signed up. We got all the way to 208 at one point, and then Discord decided to wipe everything. That was a fun little adventure. If you guys aren't familiar with what happened there, somewhere around week 8, Discord just decided to go, well, fuck you guys, and it wiped. It left everything was there still. You can see server event logs. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been a mod on Discord or had a server. You can see all the event logs. You can see when somebody creates or deletes an event. So I would have seen if somebody deleted our event and recreated it and had 0. None of that happened. They just threw away all of our users that were in there. So we had 208 people at one point. I think we ended off, we go check. I want to say it was like 70 people, something like that. I think 70 people said they were coming. Yeah, we're up to like 73 again, but nothing feels as good as the 208 that said they were coming, right? But 73, people found their way back in and we kept going, whatever. It's all good. All right. Then we come down here. Here was our schedule, right? We got into the system, then we started doing some different Linux-y things, and we did some raids, and we just kept running through it. And a lot of what I kind of focused on this, like I've gotten a few reviews from people that have kind of told me what they thought of it. My goal was not to like show you discrete Linux tasks in a lot of these scenarios. We have labs for that. We have all kinds of other ways for you guys to go get good at, CD, PWD, LS, moving around inside of a command line system, like those kind of things. We were just dragging you along on that. So that kind of stuff, if you want to go like excel in that and dig in, that's going to be something you're probably going to have to continue to do. But this was like, how do we apply these things into the industry, right? How do we apply these in like a corporate sense, all right? Suggested learning approach was individually and working groups. One of our guys, Treasure, started running lab like meetups. He had little meetups, and then they were just down in the Discord, but they were official times where you guys could come and study with each other. So he had like these little study groups, and people were getting, I thought, a lot of good stuff done. I was sitting in one the other day, and one of the guys was like, oh yeah, I live in this state, and one of the other guys like, I'm also in that state, and you seem to know what you're doing, maybe you should come work with us. And I'm like, I like hearing stuff like that. I don't know if anything ever happened with that, but I can tell you over the years in our ProLUG group, I've watched quite a few people find work from just kind of being working with other people. Here are all the dates, right? We finished up just 2 days ago. All of these are recorded on YouTube, so if you want any of these specific topics, that's where they're at. All right. So let's keep going through this. So we reviewed the syllabus, and then the first week you had to go and drop in some responses. And this is funny, in the early versions of the course, I wasn't putting the topics in here. Then we had a worksheet and a lab, and then that was it. That was it for the first week. So what did we do in the actual first week? Let's go look. I had you guys do this discussion post where you went and looked at I had a document for it, but basically this assessment, technical assessment, what do you want to do? Hey, Colchis, how's it going? I'm just reviewing the Linux Systems Administration 16-week course. We're kind of doing like a little stroll down memory lane, right? Kind of walking through. And by the way, this is a perfect topic for the end of the year. Some of you want to, some people want to better themselves in the new year. Some people are like, I need to have a goal. Well, I posit, before you make a goal, figure out what you want to do. It kind of seems like, oh, well, that's super intuitive, Scott. Yeah, but a lot of people just like make goals and then they never do anything to achieve them, right? So in this case, figure out maybe what you want to do. Like, this was part of a technical self-assessment where you look at these individual components and you say, do I want to do these things, and am I going to do them well? And you look at this, and then there's another part of this which is your actual interest in them. And if you tell me, hey Scott, I'm like a 1 or a 2 on Linux, but my Linux interest is also a 1 or a 2, then I would tell you, well, that's good to know now before you go making a goal to get really good at Linux. Maybe you don't want to get good at Linux and spend all your time doing this professionally. If your goal is not to do Linux professionally, why would you spend a bunch of time with it? I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, we do it as a hobby, but I'm saying, like, if you're talking about bettering yourself, maybe you want to go spend a whole bunch of time in cloud or Kubernetes, or you want to focus on monitoring, and you don't give a damn what type of system it is on the end of that TCP connection. As long as you can hit it with SNMP, or you can have it send data over, in some format to your Prometheus or something, you can monitor it. And you're like, maybe that's what you want to do, right? But maybe you should sit around and figure that out, right? Oh, and hey, Mr. Extremely, how's it going? We're not working too hard. We're just kind of hanging out, and I got a little bit of time. I got a couple hours, I think, before the wife gets home, so I'm just working on stuff. So that was the first one. The first week was really short, and I just got us into the systems. So let's go look at week 2. We're just going down memory lane. Where's week 2? Here's week 2 right here. So week 2 of the Linux Systems Administration course. This was all the way back in September, right? We started this back in September. Same kind of thing. Ask me questions down in Discord. You guys can still do that if you want. And then we started talking about our posts. So you have to do one post per week, and then one response to people. And I do think people did well with that. Like, it was, well, especially the first few weeks, there were people pretty on fire, but I think a lot of people kind of, other things came up and other things were more important, and that's understandable. But some people really stuck with it and kept having discussions, and I think that there was a lot of, you see how other people think about things, right? It's not just, hey, me in a vacuum doing this stuff. I can see how other engineers and admins and people that have worked in maybe other areas look at problems, right? So I think there's a lot of value in like give and take like that. And then I wanted you guys to get into the lab environment. That was my main thing in the first 2 weeks, was just get into Linux and understand what your environment looked like, right? We came down here. That was last week. This week was the same thing. So I always do a last week and a this week for each of these. And then the topics of discussion for the first week were note-taking. How do you take notes in your terminal? How do you take them out of your terminal? How do you go do drawings? And then I remember we started hammering into access control lists and SE Linux. We got right into security pretty earlier. Yeah. Colchis, you're trying to get a work-from-home Linux job? Yeah, yep. That's the goal. I get to work from home most of the time, although next week I will be working from Ohio. So I got to go out to Ohio for a week for a cluster build that we're not having a problem with it. There's always problems with any build. I've got to go fix some things that require hands-on. So I'm going to be out there the next week. I'll be out there, I think, the 6th through the 10th or something like that. So let's talk about it. Administrative troubleshooting. Oh, and then we talked about, we started out, remember I told you guys, like, from the very beginning, the admin's job differs from the engineer's job in a few ways. And this one was from our second week, right? Very early on. But in administration, we get to assume that this at least one time worked, hopefully before we got a hold of it. So in administration, a lot of times we're fixing things that are already, they broke because they filled up too much, or they broke because somebody, hit an API too hard, or there's always something that can take a server down. API got hit, and then the out of memory killer on a box started killing Java processes and killed something that was critical. These kind of things happen, right? In fact, that's probably a thing that I've supported more recently than a lot of stuff. Because again, I tell you guys, it doesn't matter. You might know Linux really well, but all your dev teams, and in this case, this actually has happened to me over the years, my dev teams were all on Java, right? So they're developing in Java, we're putting Tomcat on the servers, keeping all that up to date and stuff. Here's the thing. The Linux side, like looking up, I can see the CPU you're using and the memory you're using, but what is going on inside of your little JVM there, what you're using inside of that is a black box to me. I have no idea what's going on inside of it. Logging that I get out of that comes to logs that you guys write and whatever's in your code, you know, that kind of stuff for your developers. So I can't really troubleshoot that well. I have to just look at, you know, whatever's going on. So anyways, in administration, we can assume that things worked at least one time, versus engineering, sometimes we're building it for the first time, right? Sometimes we're moving off into a space nobody's ever been in. I'd said here that in administration, we likely have some type of documentation to go from like a build documentation or a runtime documentation. And if we don't find the build or runtime docs, we're responsible to build the runtime docs as administrators. If nobody has something that they can point to about the procedure to do to fix this thing, we need to start working on it. So, yeah. Yeah. That's actually, Raleigh, that's almost always been the case with any JVM that I've worked with, is if it's having a problem, it's almost always memory related, and we can almost always just give it more memory. I've had 2 or 3 instances where it was actually I/O back to the disk plane, and sometimes we can just give it more disks, and then that's fine, because by giving more disks to a partition, and it depends on how you either rate it or how you use logical volume management, you actually can increase the I/O channel bandwidth that the system uses on the back end. Like, nobody on their side has to change it, nobody on your side has to change it. You just give them more disk paths, and it actually bypasses a lot of trouble. Now, there are places where in high performance compute where we sometimes have to look at that, and we can't just be so, you know, I was just being very cavalier about it, like, just give them more disks. That actually does work in a lot of instances. Sometimes we have to actually sit down and get our notepads out and figure out the channel pathing and stuff, which is a thing that we do in SANS, storage area network sometimes. So, oh yeah, control byte. I haven't even played with JVMs and K8s. That would be interesting. That would be really interesting. Yeah. And then, yep. So then back talking to this, in administration, we can compare one system to another. Yeah, so you got 10 servers behind a load balancer, and the load balancer is behaving funny, right? It's not doing what it should. That's a better way to say it. To 3 of the 7 machines. And now you've got a good set and a bad set to compare them against, right? You shouldn't be changing anything on the good set. They're working. But then you start to look for, why is that other set bad? And then you go, well, you know, traffic's going there and it's having to be redirected on the network. We see it coming in from this other, but then we find out that maybe those 3 nodes, that they just look like every other virtual machine we have. But when we start digging in, they're on a different ESXi host over here than where the other 7 are. Maybe the other 7 we find they're spread across 3 ESXi hosts over here. But then this 4th one was rebuilt recently. And we go and we look and we find out that it doesn't have a VLAN on it. And we're like, that's probably doing it. But it gets insidious. There's a route to get into the other VLAN, so the traffic's still getting there. These are just averaging 300 millisecond response times, whereas these ones are averaging like 10, which is 10 to like maybe 50 is like more average, right? But so my point in saying all this is we can compare systems and go, I don't have to be very smart at all, guys, to go, well, those ones all are over there and they're all good, and these 3 are all over here and they're bad. And then I could just say, well, why don't we just, vMotion one of these over here, and does it become good behind the load balancer? And then it does. And then we can go do the root cause analysis later. But in administrative troubleshooting, we're just putting the tire back on the car and getting it going in a lot of instances. All right. So this kind of stuff is, I'm making stuff up, but these are real scenarios that could exist, right? So that's administrative troubleshooting. And then we talked about administrative tasks. Like, what do you do as an administrator? I've often hammered, for people that came to all 16 weeks of the course, you heard me say this often. The administrators they tend to be part of the operations team. And the operations team in a company only cares about one. There's one metric that trumps all other metrics, and it is uptime. It is customer-facing uptime. It is your tools, your shit, your whatever you want to call it, your web page is up when the customer comes in. And it's not just them being up, it's them being available, and that's why it's uptime is always measured in availability of service, is like all your devices can be up, but when the 5,000 first customer comes through that door of that web page, are they getting a 500 error because the server can't handle it? That's a problem, right? That's a problem. So, Rally, you said we have virtualized compute storage networks, follow chain of events to the end is a lot hard. Yeah. Well, and then so Raleigh, getting aside a little bit on that, but with troubleshooting still. Yeah, troubleshooting stuff in any kind of SDN, right, guys? That's a software-defined network. That's where I say, I would just like to go ahead and build these pods over here, and Kubernetes just spins up some pods. And then you've got a service over here that always points to the pods based on their labels and selectors, right? Selectors on the service side and that. Now, here's the thing. The troubleshooting of that for a lot of people is just turn off the pods, bring them back up, right? And then get it to work, and oh, it all works. But if you were ever to go try to dig into what actually happened there, you have to have really good logging, right? You have to have really good logging, really precise logging, and then you have to have a good tool. And I would say anymore nowadays, this almost always has to be like a Splunk or like a FluentD to some type of tool that you're probably spending some money for to chew through those logs and figure out what happened. Because they're, some of these things are so transient that they only exist for a few minutes or a few seconds. And a human parsing through logs, we're not going to do it. Even with good grep, I have decent grep, I have decent regex. Some of you guys have seen me like parse through logs and stuff. I'm okay at it. I can't do it nearly the fast and the way that like a system that's designed to look at that can do it. So yeah, that's a good point, Raleigh. Yeah, a lot of these systems we're just like looking at them going, well, they seem like they're still working, all the lights are still on, but what's going on under the hood a lot of the times is getting extremely complex to troubleshoot. So LG said that's his intended design of a pod, right? Yeah, that is LG. That is at the end of the day very much the point of it from like a administration and that startup or that's stand-up operational uptime type concept. Yes, very much. Turn it off, turn it back on. But if you have to go dig in like, oh, hey, this problem only happens between 7:05 and 8:13 p.m. at night, go find it, Scott. And I'm like, oh, fuck, at least you have a time frame. Guys, I find I've dealt with problems over the years, and I'm not trying to like, I'm not trying to be like the second liar and tell you guys, oh, I've got a bigger problem than you ever had. No. What, you guys ever heard that story? The first liar never stood a chance, because he tells his story and then the second liar can just up him, right? My point in saying that is like I've found problems before where we're looking at it right here, right? We're looking at it at 9 a.m. on a Friday, and it happens like let's say every day at 9 a.m. But the actual thing that caused it was off the screen over here, and you could see the events happening starting at like 11 p.m. the night before, and it's like you guys ever seen somebody like whip a line and then like the line it rolls down the whip, or like a chain or something like that and it rolls down? Like you'll have problems that they start well before, and then it's like this, all these things happen together to cause this one event on a server or something. It's really weird. But anyway, so the point is, like, we use our tools. We want to get better at our tools and that kind of stuff. Modern distributed app. Yeah. Control by, I would 100% agree. You can't go, like, I can't just go touch all my servers every morning and know that they're good. I need a tool and that kind of stuff as well. Oh, look. Nightbot finally sent that off. I put that together the other day, and Nightbot had never sent that off before. But there we go. There's a Nightbot telling you guys about, I've got the book on sale, so people that want to check out our book. All right, so Linux Systems Administration Test. What are you doing? What are you doing in a data center? What are you doing sitting around in network operation? I always show you guys this drawing here, right? There's this drawing that I always talk about with, oh, well, I don't even know where it is anymore. Maybe I don't even have it open anymore. Let's go open this. It's a drawing, and it is Linux Systems Administration. Yeah. Hold on. There's this drawing I always show you guys. Some of you are probably tired of seeing it. But it's the prepare, plan, design, implement. Prepare, plan, design, implement, operate, and optimize idea, right? And debugging Nightbot. Yeah, actually, Nightbot. There's settings for timers where it can be if there's only been so much scroll. Like if 50 people haven't posted messages, you will never see this message. And I set that one down all the way, so it would be every 20 minutes as long as 2 messages have passed, which is the smallest they have it. Raleigh said there's almost just one thing that doesn't accept the one time the electrician hit the big red button. I have seen people hit the big red button in data centers that didn't need to, and that's bad. I've also seen them hit it one time when they did need to because somebody was getting electrocuted. That's not funny itself, but you do sometimes have to hit it. By the way, fun fact, if you ever take a CISSP, CCSP, I don't remember ever seeing this, but I did see it on my CISSP. If somebody ever asks you a question about save the systems or save the human life, the answer on a security certification is always save human life. So if it's like fail open or fail lock on like a man trap, I know the purpose of the man trap is to trap people in it, but I'm going to tell you right now, if they're like, the building's on fire, does the man trap open? The man trap better fucking open. You can't kill people. The only people that get away with that, as far as that consideration, and I'm just being honest here from like a security standpoint and protection of equipment, are military. And you say, what do you mean by that? Have any of you guys ever seen a hangar fill up with foam? I didn't work in hangars, but I've seen this. That hangar can fill up with foam in like a few minutes to save the jets. Well, you can't swim in that foam and you can't breathe it. So if you're under 18 feet in that hangar, when that stuff starts going off, you got like a minute to get out of there. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. It's real dangerous when they do it. They make sure that it's all evacuated and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, I worked in data centers, guys, when I first got out of the Army, so this was the early 2000s, they still had, I almost said chloroform. It's not chloroform. It's, what's the stuff? Halon. They still had halon in data centers. Anybody remember that? Were any of you guys around for halon in data centers? Go look up halon, because we used it in the Army, too, in the back of our Bradleys. Halon displaces all the oxygen in a room. So if you're ever in a data center where halon went off, you had that breath in your lungs to get out of that data center, or they were going to be dragging you out when they came in later, because you were going to go out. You weren't going to even have another breath. So if you guys have never seen that, halon's not in data centers anymore. They don't do it anymore. I think for some kind of not that it wasn't effective. It'll put a fire out immediately, but it's for some kind of environmental reason. But anyways, all right. So there's this. I don't know where I was going with all that. I'm talking a lot. What are you doing in a data center? Powering on and off servers, guys. You might think that sounds simple, but what if I told you guys we need to? Oh, that's my doctoral stuff. What if I told you that I needed to reboot my werewolf server, but when I went to go to my werewolf server, I couldn't get in. Like I can't get in the server. I don't know what the password is, right? How would we power on or power off that server if we can't get to it over SSH? Or what if I power it off on SSH and it doesn't come back up? What am I going to do here, right? And some of you, and this is why we did this Linux administration courses, because some of you probably need to know that it's not all just knowing Linux well. There's also these other things. Let me see if I can get back in here. That's fine. Don't care about any of that stuff. I think I can become root. There we go. All right, but now I'm back in my box. Let's say I can't get in there. Do I know? Yeah. Do I have an IPMI tool or some kind of thing that Redfish that can go and control IPMI and reset a machine? Do I have what we call out-of-band management of that? So my Werewolf device, I happen to know, exists right here. Werewolf is part of this cluster, right? So if I needed to boot Werewolf or watch it boot up, I could do so at the console here. Because, right, these are virtual machines. This is a virtual machine right here. I can't go roll a crash card over to it like I used to in the data center. I can't do that anymore. That doesn't exist. So I have to have another way out there. We need to understand inventorying of our systems. We need to be able to add, change, and remove inventory of what's our required stuff to work on. So I tell you guys all the time, and maybe you might think, oh, that's like the tech lead, or that's like the manager's job, or that's a change management team's job. Okay, sure. But then if I say, hey, can you go ahead and write this script that goes and pushes this to all, go ahead and push this out and stage it for this weekend on all the nodes. I hope that all the nodes between the two of us is a set term, and I'm thinking of all 913 nodes, and you're not thinking of 887 nodes from a different list. Does that make sense? And you guys might think, oh, that's super easy to keep track. No, it's not. Somebody's got his little list squirreled away over here in his home directory where he keeps track of things, and you've got you've got this other list over here. So this is as common as people doing system work. Hey, how's it going, Linux developer? We're just hanging out. Management console's huge. Knowing how to connect to your devices is huge, however you do that. Raleigh said you small team in the cities with data centers, but nearly all of us are. Yeah, Raleigh, I'm very rarely in a data center. I'm going to be in a data center next week out in Ohio. There's a few reasons I have to be out there. Security clearance stuff. They wanted a more senior guy out there than the last. So we had done some work before the new year, and then they wanted me out there for this because we really want to get these nodes kicked off into a 1 month acceptance. Once we get into acceptance, one of the nice things, so when you're building stuff for other people, in government especially, once you get into an acceptance window, things reasonably can't change anymore. They basically are going all the way for 1 month. They have to just run. And then once the government accepts it, they will typically accept it with, like some, we're getting off into engineering stuff, by the way. I'm supposed to be focusing on admin, but that's fine. We're just reviewing the course that we did over the last 16 weeks, right? And where I'm going with that is the government will accept it, but they'll give some caveats. They'll be like, yeah, we accept it, but we also had said that all the VLANs have to be changed off of VLAN 1. So we're accepting it from a performance standpoint, yes, but you still have these few last tasks. And you say, oh, that's fair enough, right? And then you do your work or whatever, and you finish it off. Well, my point in all that is adding, changing, and removing inventory of a system is going to be one of these things that you're just going to sit there and go, man, I thought this would be so easy. I thought we'd have just a tool. And yeah, maybe you do have a tool, but this can be a nightmare. One example I always give you guys is when I was working at, I left AAA in 2019, right? Like December of 2019, I left AAA and I went to be the AWX architect. That was actually the title they had for me for a company called Best Western. But I gave up a really cushy full-time job to be a contractor for 6 months. It was a contract to hire position. And I was like, they're for sure going to like me. They're for sure going to hire me, right? A little hubris there, but people tend to hire me when they work with me, right? And they actually told me 2 weeks in that they were going to hire me. But that was January of 2020. And does anybody know what happened in March of 2020 when the whole world went nuts, right? I don't care if you are for or against whatever. The whole world went fucking nuts on March 2020. Well, who did I say I was working for? Best Western, a big hotel chain. Guess who wasn't getting any reservations anymore all over planet Earth? Best Western. So they let all their contractors go, even if they liked them, even if they had told them, even if I was part of the team. Some of you guys I talked to down in the Discord, you can go ask Pico. They liked me. Pico's the guy who I worked with over there. That's his name in our Discord. And we have some other guys over there that are in our Discord that also worked with me over there. And they liked me. They were going to hire me. It's just the times are changing, right? There's always something. Where I'm going with that is there was a problem out there. There was a thing that me and Pico were part of the engineering team, and we worked on the servers that were there, and then we worked on the servers that were up in the cloud, right? And then configurations of that stuff happened over on the architect side with, and we kind of touched a little bit too, but it was Chef, and I'm not a big Chef guy. I'm more of an Ansible guy, right? Like I can do Chef. Like I can look at what somebody else has written and apply it the right way, but I don't understand all their hierarchies and stuff. And there's some hierarchical stuff in Chef that kind of makes it work different than I know. So check out, this is what happened with me. I wanted a good inventory, so I went to our source of truth, and our source of truth was Satellite. Satellite is a great tool for keeping track of Red Hat devices. And you say, why would Satellite be so good? Well, because you're paying Red Hat for a license for each of your servers. So Satellite keeps track of all your licenses. They know where all your servers are. Cool. So what was happening was things were happening, and when you build a server, even if you build it up in the cloud, you can use a Red Hat license. So I don't know if some of you guys know, but when you build a AWS, you don't have to use an Amazon machine image. You can build your own machine and bring your own license, BYOL. It's a concept in the cloud, bring your own license. You can bring your own license of Red Hat because you already pay for it through whatever corporate agreement you have. I don't know if any of you guys have played with that, but that's a real thing, right? So, yeah, so Raleigh, what I would do, this is what I would do with Satellite. So when people built server, because again, me and Pico are over here, and there's all these moving parts in a company, guys. What I wanted to know was every day, how were all of our servers doing? This is a task that we've done in our labs, and we've worked on this. I wanted to know every day how all of our servers were doing. So what I did was I went and grabbed all of our servers out of Satellite. I checked them all to make sure we could get to them, make sure that they were healthy by whatever health check standards we had, which was, ping them, make sure that they had DNS resolution, make sure that they could patch themselves if we needed to, and I don't know, that they were running an app, right? So, that they were connected to Active Directory for sure. That was one. Or whatever we were using. Where I'm going with that is then we had this other tool that did all the monitoring that was called Sharewell, and those weren't always in sync. So I used Ansible to pull a satellite inventory every morning, a Sharewell inventory, compare them, and me and Pico, by doing this, or Pico and I, however you want to say it, that's not his real name, but that's his name on Discord if you ever want to talk to him. We were finding this discrepancy of like 2 to 3 servers a day. They were almost always on the satellite side and never on the Sharewell side. Then we dug into it a little bit and said these are always out in AWS. So one of the processes that was building AWS servers, it wasn't all of the processes, it was like one of them, wasn't properly registering it back to Sharewell. So we fixed that. And then every morning we just got like a nice little clean, we got this one little clean report every morning of all of our stuff was good. And just by maintaining our inventory then from there I could start to build on like what our maintenance checks were and that kind of stuff. So, well, Red Hat, Windows, Amazon functioning together on. Yeah, true. You'll find that you don't have very much like what we would call homogeneous stuff in the world. You're going to find Windows and it's going to be what's called heterogeneous, right? It's going to be all these different types of systems working together. Yeah, so you will find that typically out in the world. Schizophrenic, he had a job interview lined up and they had to cancel everything because of the shutdown. Yeah, I almost didn't move into this house because of the shutdown, because of the COVID stuff. Yeah, COVID turned everything over, man. It was weird. But that's another one that I tell you guys, like, I feel like I did really good work for them, and I actually know that they're still using the stuff that I built there for them, and that's awesome, right? That's how it should be. You should build good stuff, and it should work years later. Hold on. But I tell you guys all the time, sometimes you just get let go, right? Sometimes you do everything right, and you still get let go. And we have another one of our guys who's an example of that. He did everything. He was working at a startup company, and he did everything he could, and he still got let go. It was in downsizing. They were down, these companies, they go through their different phases, but it's a big, they're not even that big. They say a few hundred people, and they let like half of them go. So now he's over being a software engineer, and he's really good, and he's settled in and all that stuff. But he got let go, and I would have told anybody out there, like, don't let this dude go. He's good at what he does, but sometimes it just happens. So we use ServiceNow. Yeah, ServiceNow is good. I think ServiceNow has a good API, but I've also found conflict with the teams that run ServiceNow, right? There's a famous, and look, I don't think anybody's going to get this reference, but I still like giving references, even if you guys are never going to get them. There's this, if you ever see this old movie called Braveheart, it's a fantastic movie. It'll be 30 years old next year. Braveheart's a fantastic movie. It came out in 95. When Braveheart, in the movie Braveheart, there's a scene where he gets Mel Gibson, who's he's not Robert DeBruce, he's somebody help me out, William Wallace. When William Wallace gets into it with the nobles, and he tells them, he said, I think that my position exists to free like the people. You think your position exists to like basically take shit from the people, right? And that's like this argument that he kind of has with them, right? Dojo, we did a lot with security, but we didn't really do anything with testing backups. I talked often about doing backups and how you don't really have a working backup until you actually bring the data back. You really are just pretending until you actually bring data back. But no, we didn't hit backups as much as I might have liked to, maybe. Oh, but anyways, back to this thing. When I used to get into it with the configuration management database team, the CMDB team, I used to tell them, like, you guys forget, you think that you exist to tell engineers what to do. And that's not the case. You have forgotten your original purpose. Your goal, your job, is to make a smoother path for the engineers to move along. Engineers should be at your company, like in the IT space, they should be your rock stars. Everybody else should be helping them move engineering projects along, right? That's how this is supposed to work. But CMDB teams forget that, and they think their job is actually to, like, make change management as difficult as possible and arbitrarily throw out one of 3 changes without even reading the differences between them. And it's like, I used to get in so much, I used to, like, stand up and yell, and my boss was like, calm down, Scott. And I'd be like yelling. He's like, they're right over there, they can hear you. And I'm like, I don't care if they can hear me, they're not people. And he used to get so mad at me. Anyways, so that was the same boss when I left AAA. That was the same boss who said, I said, I'm going to go over to this company, Best Western. He goes, Best Western? I'd sleep in my truck before I slept in the Best Western. That's the actual line my boss, Daniel V. Hill, told me. All right. That almost spelled his name right, too. It didn't spell his name right, but it was close. All right. You got to install and update software. You got to be able to configure repositories. We actually did some of that. We did some troubleshooting with that just recently. Configuring software to work within a cluster. I tell you guys all the time, one of the things about being like this is less admin work and more engineering work, but it's so important. I tell you guys all the time, if stuff just worked out of the box, the salesperson would set it up and they wouldn't need engineers. Everything would just work. But things don't work like that. And there are some proclivities to your system that are only going to be known by the engineers that work in the system. And you can go look at an IP management, right, an IPAM, IP address management system, all day and still not know what devices are talking to each other. I mean, you know where they should be, but you don't really know what's going on, right? So, yeah. I'm probably missing some chat, but I'm trying to just kind of do a review, right? I'm probably going to be at this for another hour or so until the wife gets home. But then, man, this was huge. I really tried to make sure that you guys understood that this was going to be a big part of your job if you go to be a Linux systems administrator. Responding to incidents, trouble tickets, system level failures, security incidents. You're going to be drug in on everything because you're a Linux engineer or a Linux administrator, and people just think that because you do Linux, you're a puzzle solver and you should be able to fix things. Now, that should be true. You should be able to solve things. But we looked at incidents from like a methodical way to handle things. Yeah. So some companies do run on just a spreadsheet and a DHCP. There are some good IP address management tools out there. I've seen ones done just out of SolarWinds. I'm not a big fan of SolarWinds, especially after that last problem. I wasn't a fan of it before that, but when they got screwed and got everybody, just say no to spreadsheets. They got bodied and it bodied everybody else underneath them. Or let me say it more correctly, they got compromised and it compromised a lot of companies that had too much trust up in SolarWinds just being able to come in and do whatever they want in the system. So, also, it looks like the Nightbot timers are working. So, yeah, we're the ProLUG. You guys are welcome to come hang out in there. The Discord is there, linked for you guys. That should also be. Let me link that again, because it'll also go to the YouTube side of things as well. Interestingly enough, I'm only seeing chat from Twitch, so hopefully people on YouTube are hearing me. If not, I guess. Oh yeah. Okay, Northern Chimp's over there. Good. Why didn't that pop up here? All right. Anyways, we're good. Let's keep going. We'll just keep looking at stuff, keep figuring stuff out. But these were some administrative tasks. This is not an exhaustive list. There's going to be more things that are going to happen, but we're going to do that. All right. Also, am I missing something else here? Looks like we're having some other. Ah, Ranger check. You guys want a Ranger check? You guys want to see Ranger? How's Ranger doing? I think I had him back here somewhere. Nope. Nope, nope, no Ranger. Give me a second. Where's Ranger at? Here's Ranger check. How's he doing? He's not on his beds, that's for sure. Info blocks, yeah. Oh, info blocks. I've seen that one before. I haven't run any. I haven't done, like, I don't know how good. Like, I haven't played with their APIs and stuff, because most of you guys know, like, I'm above all lazy. Once I get something working, I'll just let it work. So when I get a tool like that and I go play around with it at the, I'll go play around with it, poke around in the web GUI for a little bit, and then I'll go, okay, can I query this stuff out and never have to look at that again? And then once I do that, I don't have to go. Then I never have to go in there again. Yeah. So okay, so you have the APIs all set up. Yeah, yeah. And I'm not. That's not like me trying to brag. I'm a Linux guy. I just kind of figured out that APIs were going to be a big deal, and I kind of use them. Because if I can hit something with an API, then I don't have to ask people questions anymore. And that ends up being really, really easy. True, you said, am I using ready-made camera solutions or some old... This is an old security cam, and this just feeds over into Grafana so I can watch it. There's Ranger, my dog Ranger walking around. He's so old. I don't know what he's doing. Just wandering around sniffing everything. I think he's got some kind of dementia. Ragnar, you want something with him, Linux? That's awesome. Up until 37, nice. Yeah, so we were on stream a while back. There's Ranger wandering around. We were on stream a while back, and somebody mentioned this Rack Nerd, and there were Black Friday deals back then. Now, I'm sure that's no longer any good, but then they have these other ones, and they were pretty good deals. I was showing you guys, like, if you just needed... that's for the whole year, guys. So you got to divide that out. That's like $1.50 a month. That's pretty good if you just need a little system to, bounce an API off of or mess around with. Yeah, yeah. So I think this is the New Year deals, or did it go to New Year deals? Let's see. So yeah, this was an interesting little. It looks like it's dropping in the same spot. But yeah, those aren't bad little boxes for what they're going to do. And if you just need like a 2-node solution to test things or build things on, I think that's just fine. Now, I don't remember, yeah, you get full root admin access. I don't remember if we had determined, the Linux developer, you might know this. Do they give you the ability to load your own ISO? Can you just put could you put like Kali and like a damn vulnerable web server on 2 nodes and just sit there and play in your own environment? Or is there that? Oh, nice, Raleigh. Yeah, yeah. I've had some success with ServiceNow and their APIs. They're pretty straightforward. All right, so where are we at here? So then in our discussion as we were doing these, and we won't probably bust into this too much now, but what I did while we were talking during the group is I would come in here and I would jump on a node like this, and we would just talk through some of the stuff, Maybe I go over to Rocky 19. Right, so there's our Rocky 19 box, and we say, what's IPAdder do? Tells us about the interfaces that are up, and then I start asking questions about the interface. And it's not to trip people up, it's not to show who's the smartest person in the room, it's just to make you think, like, I do know what's going on with what I'm seeing there, or I don't. And then that spreads you off into 2 directions. One, if you do know what you're doing, then now maybe you would continue with troubleshooting. And if you look at this and you say, I don't know what any of this is, then you need to probably spend a little time getting more familiar with it. Maybe you need to go do some configurations on it. Maybe you need to just view it a little bit and think about it and go, okay, this is the IPv4 address and the IPv6 address. Okay, this is using both. So this is like a dual honed network for both IPv4 and IPv6. And we were seeing that in my home lab, we were trying to ping IPv6 out, right? Because I have IPv6 here, and I can nslookup www.google.com, and I can see its IPv6 address. So I should be able to ping 6 that address. This isn't going to work. I should be able to ping that address, but it doesn't work. And then now you might need to troubleshoot why. Now, by the way, in my home lab, there's a reason that doesn't work, and it's not because I wanted to turn that off. It's just that my device that functions as a router doesn't forward IPv6. If I figured that out and turned it on, it shouldn't be too hard. I just haven't figured it out, or I haven't really messed with it to figure it out. Then we would have the ability to use IPv6 in our network. As it is, we use a little device called cRouter over here, and cRouter is not set up for that. He has all his IP tables in IPv4, so his kernel isn't set to forward IPv6. Wait. Linux developer, you might have to drop. Will you drop that in the Discord for me, Linux developer? If you drop it just somewhere down in the Discord, like in the general chat, I can pull it up. Where's our general chat at? I don't know where that is. One of our guys organized all this the other day by alphabetical order, so now I can't find anything. Everything I was in the order I liked it, but now it's not. Yeah. You shouldn't be using where's Telnet? Oh, I have Telnet as a troubleshooting tool. Yeah, you don't use Telnet to actually connect to anything. Telnet's a very bad. Everything's in plain text on Telnet, but Telnet is great for just establishing that a connection's open, and that's a good way to do that. Although you can do that with Netcat too, but some companies don't allow NCAT or Netcat or Nmap, which Netcat is the underlying component of Nmap. Anyways, they don't allow those to be on servers because they don't want people scanning the network. So, yeah. A lot of times people will not have these things on there. And that's a security standard, right? We don't want people telnetting over. Although admins love to use Telnet to connect, but they don't. Linux, did you drop that somewhere? General, there you go. Oh, somebody, no, nobody showed me this, but this is, what is this? Let's go to region. Africa, Asia, Europe, Middle East, North America. Colo, Arachnid. Oh, so this is just like a comparison across all of them. I wanted to do Linux. I wanted to make sure that I had at least KVM access. Only wanted to be maybe in the US. RAM and megs, that's probably a minimum. I take it. Let's say I wanted like 64. Could they give me 64 CPUs? Yeah, it starts getting expensive. There's somebody that'll do it for you though. Go back down to like 8, which is a little more reasonable. Oh, porn included? No. That is actually interesting though. There are sites that will not host porn for you, in case you guys didn't know that. That is a thing that that some sites will not host those different things. LG said, I hope that's not a stupid question. Are those servers better than GCP or AWS? I wouldn't say they're better or worse, but it's more of a, like, if you are, I don't know about AWS or Google, in fact. I know this for Azure. You have a service level agreement that's with them, and if they take your systems out of like it's like typically a 4 nines, and sometimes it's like 4.5 nines, so it's like 99.995% on some services, and if they take it down, they actually have to credit you back for the downtime, which I always think is just a weird, they're going to give you 72 cents back because your server was down for a few hours. That always seemed weird to me. Like, seems like it would be more because you're going to lose more out on that. But anyway, so my point in showing you guys this was these were tools that we talked through and looked at, and I was just showing in the networking side of things, I wanted you guys to be able to use these as tools to troubleshoot things, right? And then we talked about the use method. I always kind of hammer you guys on the use method. This is the way that we look at systems. when a system is under any kind of heavy load, right? We start to look at what's the utilization. So the utilization is the 0 to 100% of a fully utilized system, right? So you have 0 to 100% of the RAM is used. 0 to 100% of the CPU is currently used, right? 0 to 100% of the disk or the I/O to the disk, right? That kind of stuff. And then when you hit 100% utilization in any system, you start to deal with saturation. So saturation is as a line starts to form. There's a queue, right, waiting to get to something. And then once saturation starts to happen, timeouts and errors start to occur, and those should hopefully be populated in logs, and you should be able to see what's going on. But this is a methodology for looking at servers for troubleshooting. It's a method for just looking at how utilized they are, and it's called the use method. Utilization, saturation, and errors. This is much, much easier the more we monitor our servers. So I showed this when we were doing this in the discussion. I came over here and I went here, and one of our discussions later on talked about, you know, here's the 7-day look at all the CPU in my environment, CPU that I care about, and here's all the memory usage over the last 7 days. But I'm going to move this down to the last 1 day, last 24 hours. And we had a talk, I want to say this was in unit 9 or 10. And now that you can see it as just 1 day, do you guys see a block of time where a lot of CPU and memory is being used in my environment? You might look at that and go, well, I think I saw it as a pattern. And then when we zoomed in, now I see it at 3:14 a.m. every day. Something happens in this environment to spin up your CPU and usage. And one of the things that I then was talking about was you get called into a meeting. Yeah, from 4 to 8. Yep. Pretty solid. 4 to 8 is high time. You get called into a meeting, and the architects want to add a couple more agents to your server. There, one of them was Bacula, and the other one was what's the other one called? Avamar. So Avamar and Bacula, and they want to kick them off at 4 a.m. every morning. Now, in the discussion questions that I gave, I didn't tell anybody what the Avamar or Bacula do, but if anybody wants to go Google that, you can. I'll give you guys a minute on that. But your architects they're not looking down at the system from the same perspective you are. They're not seeing when the spikes are happening because they're architects. They plan. They look at previous plans and figure out where things can fit in. A good architect will look at the system, but let's just say that these architects in this scenario did not. So you have to kind of maybe raise your hand and go, guys, we need to change that time frame. We can do those 2 agents, but maybe we need to start them at like 10 o'clock. Is 10 o'clock acceptable? Because I think that if we do it at 4, we're going to put these systems into maybe some kind of problems, right? And you say, what kind of problems? I don't know, man. But resource contention between different agents can cause problems. Does anybody know what Bacula does and what Avamar agent does? Anybody want to shake a hand at that before I tell you guys? We did this a few weeks ago, so if anybody hears from the course, they know it. Anybody know what it was? Avamar and Bacula. No idea. Avamar and Bacula are both backup agents. Avamar might do some other things, but they're both backup agents. So there was another component to this where it was like, why are we doing both of them? Look, maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a compelling reason. There are different models for how we do backups. If you want to get into business continuity plans and business impact analysis and how we do that on like a security side of things, because that is a function of security, but it's also a function of operations. So we have to kind of work together in the organization, because what business continuity plans and business impact analysis always feed into is what's called risk management. And risk management is almost always a function of your security teams. But again, I mean, I told you guys at the very beginning of this, and I said this when we started the course 16 weeks ago, operations teams, where all you administrators, people that are going to do administration, are going to sit on operations teams, your number one key performance indicator, the number one thing that's going to determine if you guys get bonuses or not, or if the company is happy with you, is uptime. So risk management is a function of keeping uptime high by either mitigating or transferring or selling or doing whatever the hell we're going to do to risk to keep it out of our environment, right? I always talk about it like it's like a paved road, right? Like you look down a road and it's all like crag and just broken and shit, and you see a car go drive down it and it's just going like this and it's terrible. Our job as operators and as administrators in an operations team is to make that road paved as straight as possible so those systems keep working. So then the company keeps making money and nobody bugs us because, I tell you guys this, depending on where you find yourself in your career, you may or may not be making the company money. You say, what do you mean by that, Scott? If you're in an operations team, right? If you go be a Linux administrator for an operations team, if that company sells insurance, like when I was at AAA, they're an insurance company. The insurance people are the ones that make the company money. Therefore, us as a cost center, we literally just took money from the company every 2 weeks when we got paid or whatever. That's what we did. We're a cost center. Our performance is based on how well we can keep our systems up and running, right? Like how well we can make those other people happy who are making the company money. And you might think like that's a terrible way to think about it. Contrast that to when I worked at Lockheed Martin. I was an engineer at Lockheed Martin for 5 years. We were the fucking rock stars, man. Like we walked in and there were people like high-fiving us as we walked in because the company was billing us. Well, they were billing our hours out to the government at rates higher than what we made, obviously. But the point is, we made the company money. If we needed something within reason on a project, we got it. And that's the way that... So you're going to be in different roles depending on where you're at in your career, right? And that's something to think about. So anyways, all right. So utilization, saturation errors, use method. That's called the use method. I learned that from a Red Hat architect who came and talked to us a while back. And I always give a nod here when we're talking about this to a guy, Brendan Gregg. If you guys haven't ever heard of him, he's the guy. If you say, Scott, that sounds real good. Thanks for the high-minded platitude that doesn't help me be a better Linux admin or engineer. And I say, okay, that is fair. I did just talk a whole bunch without showing you any actual Linux, right? We're not on the command line right now. Brendan, like seriously, if you do Linux and you tell me you want to be serious as an engineer, go like bookmark this guy, Brendan Gregg. I'll link it to you guys here. And I'll put it over here so I have it on both chats. Boom. All right, this guy has all the pieces. Like this is all the stuff right here around how you can track performance of systems. He's even got eBPF, which is kind of the modern standard for a lot of stuff for how we track and look at stuff. We have a talk up on YouTube side of things that Michael Pessa gave on eBPF and how he's used in the industry. It's a really good talk. I need to go rewatch that actually. But then he talks about how different companies have used it and how people have been working on it. So he's got a lot of good stuff. All right. So the questions, that was Unit 2, right? So now we're going to go up to Unit 3. Go find Unit 3 real quick. We're just reviewing all of the different weeks of the Linux Systems Administration course. We're kind of like powering through it quickly. And there's the Nightbot over on the Twitch side telling you guys about the group. You're always welcome to go hang out down in our Discord and talk with other engineers that are interested in similar stuff to you. And all right, so Linux Systems Administration Unit 3. This was the end of September, right? So this has been going for weeks. Third class meeting, announcements. This was last week, and then your discussions, and then your discussions for this week. We'll go look at those discussions real quick. Let's go look at what was Unit 2 and Unit 3. Let's go drop down here. ProLUG projects. And discussion post 1. By the way, so yeah, I made you guys go and find a Linux job that you were interested in, and we were working on there. Bottleneck said, "Have I ever taught how to use Vim?" No, I showed in the first week of the Linux Systems Administration course how to use Vim Tutor to go learn the basics. I've never even been all the way through Vim Tutor. I've just kind of learned VI in the wild. I am no better at that than anybody else, Bottleneck. I can get around. I know my little tricks. I probably need to spend some more time in there and learn more of the tricks, but I don't. No, I've never sat down and taught anybody Vim though. I just tell them to go watch or read the Vim Tutor and do that. So, And that's not me being like cavalier about it. It's just I'm less interested in, like, I know some people really want to be good at certain tools and stuff, and I'm less interested at being good at the tools. Although Vim is one you do have to kind of know how to use. At least moving around and copying and pasting stuff. All right, week 2. So here's what week 2 was. I wanted you to think about week 1 and what went well and what could have went better if you took notes and all that kind of stuff. And then in week 2 we did read a blog, check search engine, ask about SE Linux, and then go and do that. And then we did some lab activities around SE Linux. Yeah, I think Vim Tutor is probably one of the best places. There's some stuff online too that we are finding. Some of them you have to pay for. There's like a Vim game online, but it costs money, I think, after a while. So I don't recommend it, or I don't tell people not to do it. It depends on where you want to spend money. All right, real quick, Unit 3, we started to talk about triaging systems, right? And I made you guys go and look at this blog post that Google had put together. And this was crisis management. Oh, this was actually out of their SRE book. So this was a crisis management that comes from, I think I have their book somewhere up here as well. If you guys have never, I don't know, maybe I don't have it, but here's the Google SRE books. They're all free out on the web if you guys don't know about them. Google keeps these open for anybody that wants them. SRE.Google Books. You guys are always, Google has those published all the time. So if you want to get into SRE type work and go that route, there you go. But over here, there was this crisis management, and you've got an incident, and something's going wrong, and you've got to triage the incident, which means, is it real, is it not? And then if it is real and something else is real, which one gets the actionable time first? Let's say you only have one person's worth of time, and each of these are going to take half an hour to fix, and you've got to decide, we work on this one first or we work on this first. Most of you have probably heard the term triage from like combat or like a medical standpoint. It's the idea that we deal with the first problem first, the most dangerous problem first, right? So I talked about what are some important terms you read, and then what do you think, why do you think understanding high availability will help you better in the context of triaging incidents? So what I meant by that was, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but if I understand that I have a server over here that's down, and it's a database server, and it's the only one of its kind, that's a problem. Now, out in AWS, you've got database servers that are the primaries, and then you have like read-only replicas of secondaries. So you could still function for a long time on read replicas from a like checking. When we talk about online transaction processing, OLTP, we can do online transaction processing as a backend where we're reading stuff. Like if you're looking at shopping carts and stuff. But if you've got a write to that database and my primary database is down, I'm dead in the water on that, right? So that is a critical piece of infrastructure. But over here, you've got a web server, and this web server looks like the other 10 web servers sitting in a horizontal, horizontal scaling type unit next to each other. There's 4 of them sitting there, or 10 of them sitting there, and they're all hanging out. And one of them is down, causing a problem where the load balancer just has to send more load to the other 9, but it's never going to be seen by the customer. But this is about to be seen by the customer. Which one of those is most important? And obviously, you're going to just be like, fix it. Yeah, it's weird how my hands are, but fix that one. Fix that one over there because that's the problem, right? All right. So down here, I said, ask Google, find a blog, ask an AI about high availability. And then we went and looked at some of the different stuff. This is all in the Discord. If you guys want this, I'm just reviewing stuff that we did over the last few weeks, right? Here's all the work, and there were some worksheets around what we were working on and all that. So we got down here, and we got into Unit 4, but we're not at Unit 4 over here yet, so let's go to that. So we talked about, for the labs on this week, were disks, file systems, and mount points, how operation workflows happen, what tools we use, who our customers are, and what key performance indicators are, right? So for the disks, we talked about LS block and block ID to kind of see what's going on. My company, never a single point of yeah, LG, I'll tell you what, one single point of failure that people found out the last few years that people didn't realize was going to be a single point of failure was load balancers. And I've been on teams where we've had to restart the AWS load balancer service every few days. And it's like, you go, well, wait a minute. The load balancer sits there and then sends to multiple backends. Yeah, but what if the load balancer gets jammed up? And that happens. It actually, I didn't know it happened until I was on a team that did it, or had to deal with it. And it's like, yeah, no, the load balancers can get jammed up letting traffic in. So, and if you don't want to use load balancer to be a reverse proxy, you can do things in DNS. People don't realize, or well, you probably, maybe some of you do realize, there's a trade-off. With a load balancer, I have an endpoint, and then it goes to whatever number of backend endpoints. It's a reverse proxy that nobody ever sees, but that endpoint needs to be up for that load balancer. But hold on, you can use DNS to have multiple backend paths, and you can even wait DNS, and you can do all kinds of crazy things with DNS. But do you know what you can't do with DNS that you can do with a load balancer? If any of you guys ever build any of this stuff, you'll see this in operations. A load balancer, even though it's a single point of failure, it's also a single point of control. And you say, what the heck do you mean by that, Scott? What I mean by that is if you're coming into my organization on like 12.34.56.78, right? And you're hitting my organization on that load balancer always controls where it goes. DNS, on the other hand, a system checks DNS, and then that system can remember that response for as long as it wants. Now, most DNS will never be remembered past 24 hours, but there's no rule that they can't. And then the client, most of the time, most clients are configured to forget DNS entries within 5 minutes. You say, Scott, why are you telling me that? Because if you use DNS as your poor man's load balancer, but it's really just load balancer, and then you do like a blue-green deployment. I said red-green, but that's the color blindness I am. Blue-green, right? And the clients over there aren't checking DNS, but they're still going back to your blue environment and not coming up to your green. And then you're sitting over there scratching your head going, didn't we just switch this over? Why the heck is all the traffic still going to our other? It's because you don't control the traffic. You do control the traffic through a load balancer. You don't control it through a DNS config. So, yeah, well, so LG, here's the thing. A well-behaving browser has 5 minutes internal DNS. Somebody who wants to be malicious or somebody who configures their browser wrong, they can leave their DNS to go to your old stuff for as long as it's there, and then it can be down. And where I'm going with this is, you know, maybe you turn off that blue environment, your old environment, too early or too fast, and now half of your customers that are over the age of 55 are not able to get into your system anymore, and they start canceling their service with you. And all because you didn't understand how clients worked and how control worked in a system, right? So, bottleneck, I never made these. These have never been made available for one reason. They're just not that good yet. I need to go back. I need to like polish up the whole course and kind of do it. Even as I'm looking at these now, I'm kind of taking my notes of like problems that I'm seeing. So, yeah. Here's the thing, Dojo. 55 doesn't mean you can't do things, but it does mean some of your peers can't do things. Right? So, Haplo, how's it going? We're not working too hard over here. Thanks for the resubscription. Yeah, 15 months, man. Time does fly. Time does fly. We are just kind of looking back over the course and just walking through stuff. We're not working super hard. FinTech accounting company bench just without warning closes its doors. Cloud is getting more and more scary. Yeah. Dojo, I can tell you, yeah, cloud is an interesting place. And, you know, people have joked around for years where, like, if Google doesn't have something that's profitable, they just cut it off. So it's very possible. Like, if you look at, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but Google wasn't really making a lot of money in the cloud space. Their Google Cloud stuff is not really, I mean, AWS and Azure kind of rule that space, and then you've got some of these other things. It's just, I was always wondering when Google was just going to go, we're done. We're done with that. We make Google money over here. We're not going to make a couple 100,000 over here. We're gonna do that. Oh, man, I'm almost near a hype train. Hey, thanks, guys. We call those scam trains around here. But I appreciate it. Trobby Rob, thanks for the Prime. Now you don't have to watch any commercials for a bit. That's always fun. We looked at Tune2FS and DumpFS, and you could come in here and do, like, let's say that I had, which one did I do that on yesterday? I might have rebooted all of them. So let me just go out of the lab environment to my home environment. Let me just do df-h. Here's my environment. And maybe I want to do like a dump dump e2fs on dev mapper cl root, right? And maybe I want to run this, and it says that it can't find. Okay, so dev mapper. Okay, so that's not going to work. Probably because it's not, sometimes you can't do them because they're mounted. But I have a thing that I can unmount here. So let's do a thing real quick. We'll do an LSOF into my storage. Is anybody using storage? No, storage isn't doing anything. And let's check a few other things. Export FS show mount -E. I'm forgetting some of my stuff. Am I sharing anything out on the system as far as that storage goes? I think I just keep stuff on storage. Yeah. So there's nothing going on this box as far as that goes. The reason I want to do that is to show you guys this. I can do my poor server. This box is remember we were talking about utilization, saturation, and errors earlier. This box is highly utilized, but only because I have it. It's such a small little jump box, and I make it do so much. All right, come on, system. Just jump over to another one while that's waiting. We'll do a U mount on storage, right? And it says can't because it's busy. Now we see that, oh, it's that other one's in there. So kill, that's fuck it, we'll kill it. 1, 9, 3, 7, 8. We're gonna kill that other one off. There we go. And then we'll stay in the original one. U mount storage, right? Just to unmount it. Mount grep-i for storage. Not there anymore, right? The reason I'm doing that is now I can do my dump2fs against the no longer mounted, because sometimes you're just not mounted. Dev mapper storage. It's its own volume group. That's strange. I don't know why dump2fs. Normally you'd be able to see. Well, maybe dump2fs doesn't work on XFS anymore. I'm not sure. Let's go see. It doesn't see it at all. Bottleneck, I was your number 5 streamer. Nice. 69 hours watched. Nice. What's good? Dojo Drummer, you said in your work as a pro, do you use mostly ext4? Yeah, I see mostly ext4. I use some XFS. I don't see any ZFS or ButterFS, which is BTRFS, but we call it Butter. I see those in, sometimes I see those two down in like the devs are testing some stuff, and they'll request me to build some servers for them and give them some alternate stuff. But yeah, for the most part, most everything I've run in Red Hat, SUSE, which is SLES typically, and Ubuntu, which I sometimes end up running Ubuntu. Oh, and Rocky heavily is all XFS. And let me see. yeah. So dump2fs is only going to work on these. So I wonder if I have an XFS dump. Yeah, there we go. On that same server, or on that same one. So I didn't realize that there was a different dump for XFS. And then now, whoops. Destination file. I should just be able to. Can I just verbose dump it to the screen? Oh, okay. It's probably got to be before the name. Huh. Dev mapper storage does not identify a file system. That's weird because it definitely is a file system. Or there's definitely a file system on there. If we do block ID, we'll see it. Right, we see the type XFS on there. So, hey, Robodom, how's it going? We're just hanging out, not working too hard here, but we are kind of going through all the old course and just kind of looking at it. I'm waiting for the wife to get home with food, so that's kind of what I've been wasting time for the last hour and 20 minutes on. This is all still, all of the course is up in the Discord still. Watching any of these is up in the YouTube. And then when I clean it all up, we do have a YouTube playlist that you guys can go through and watch all of these. And then you have to go do the work yourself, though. So there's literally like 6 to 8 hours a week worth of work, maybe even more. Yeah, Robodom, it's a little bit like a speed run. Yeah. I don't use Obsidian. I use a few different ones. I use this is LogSec. The one that I by far go to more than any other is Notepad++. I just dump stuff in Notepad++ while I work. And then the other one that I use a lot, I mean, in the terminal space, is I'll just have Screen keeping track of my logs for me, so then I can go back through and like replay things that I did. And oh, I don't want all the history. I just want those ones that actually worked. I don't want all the commands that I messed up. So like if I was looking at this history, right, I would only want the ones that worked. I wouldn't want the stuff that's busted, right? So I would only want the version of whatever that's, let's see. It's interesting to me that that's not showing. It's interesting to me that it's not showing. Yeah, I don't know how to use this tool, so I'd have to go figure that out. Typically, it's a trip over to the Googles and say, you know, XFS dump usage, and how would you use XFS dump, and then really I just need to see like one command, like to see it actually work, right? So in this case, I'm seeing Red Hat says use XFS dump -L with the level, and I can do a 0 for. Oh, that's I don't want to dump it. Nope. I just want a. Do not want to dump. I do not want to restore. What am I doing? I asked for the wrong thing. Excuse me. Oh, and then block ID. Oh, didn't need an A in there. I'm losing it, guys. I'm losing it. Oh, I don't want the... Oh, guys, you gotta stop me. I want tune to FS. Well, dump will typically show if I have, let's see. I don't think I have that on there anymore. Yeah, data's not there anymore. It doesn't matter. Anyways, the point is we looked at that and we messed with that in that week. We're doing it. All right, so then administrative tasks. This is one of the ones, this slide actually really to this day bugs me because I can't get, you know, I know how to use these tools, I think, and then for some reason the bullet points on this slide do not work. I deleted the text box and remade it. They don't work normal. So here we are. And I said, like, as an admin, right? Like, let's say you're just walking in as an admin for the first day. You've never done anything before. Where does your work come from? Well, there's two ways you're probably going to get work. You're going to get trouble tickets from users, or you're going to have a backlog of trouble tickets, likely, if you're new on the team. The goal is to knock these out quick. These are typically one of the things that, like, junior engineers get kind of graded on as far as, like, your key performance indicators. And it's how long were tickets in your queue? How many tickets did you resolve by the end of the year? These are the kind of things that we used to keep track of at like AAA. And Sometimes we got to triage incidents and decide what we're going to work first. Many times the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So you'll get an incident in and you'll be looking at something else in the morning. And by the time that trouble ticket even comes in, the manager has already come over and talked to your manager. So now your manager is making that the highest priority. That happens sometimes. I try to tell people on the engineering side of things, that's annoying. But from an admin side of things, your manager kind of controls where the fire is. So you just point the hose over there and fix the problem or whatever. This other one is we track issues. We track and find issues that arise from normal monitoring activities. So this is one of these things. This is almost one of these things where I tell people, especially if you're working in a network operations center at night, let's say you don't have any trouble tickets or nothing's pressing. Well, you could sit there and read comics, and you can sit there and go to night school, which I think would actually be valuable for some people. But are you monitoring your stuff and trying to make it better? And one of the things I show you guys too, this is back to this other thing from earlier. You're going to start as a sysadmin keeping the lights on in a company. You're going to be over in the operations side of a NOC or a security operations center or help desk or some operations team. And my question to you is always, are you optimizing your system and making it better? Are you updating documentation? Do people come to you and ask you questions because they know that you're the person who solves things? They know not to ask these other people because those people are just rude to them or ignore their email because they're on the third shift. Are you the type of person that solves stuff? Because if you do that, and again, I'm not going to tell people how to handle their business, but I do think that that gets noticed, and I do think that that weighs better on your metrics and then helps you to, I mean, here's the thing, even if you optimize things and you put in your own tickets for yourself, put in a ticket and say, yeah, I found this thing wrong and I fixed it, boom. Checkmark is awesome. Yeah, people use checkmark. I think I stood that up in the lab one time. I didn't really use it much, but we stood it up in the lab to play with it. Yeah. So how are you optimizing your system? Because you want to get over here to doing project work. This is where engineers live, right? Engineers don't do a whole lot of sysadmin stuff. We still do have to do sysadmin stuff in smaller companies for sure. But we want to be over here like living our best life doing project stuff. This is the stuff everybody thinks is fun. But I'll tell you right now, it's all still work. If it wasn't work, they wouldn't call it work. But, everybody thinks it's like, oh, it's fun over here. Yeah, I guess maybe it's more interesting work, but it's still work. You still got to think, right? All right. So those are the things I tell you guys often. Fisherman is one of the guys in our server. He has some labs in Killer Coda that are really good for this. So if you go to Killer Coda, which will be right here, and you go over here to, and then there's Fisherman Guy Bro stuff right there. Fisherman will teach you how to deal with really annoying problems in your network. All right, so that's all of that. All right. He also has a really cool one on building out an LLM if you guys want to go do some LLM work. And if you do hit those, we have some stuff up in our Ansible directory. You have to go up to here. In our Discord, you go to Ansible code. I don't know what somebody's put in here recently, but it looks like somebody was asking about some Ansible in there. And we have some Ansible. If you go up just a little bit, I wrote it when I was doing the lab. Scroll up a little bit. It's not too far up. Just a little further. Maybe I need to repost it. But when you're doing this lab, if you're doing the LLM lab, I've got one that goes and hits it with Ansible. So you've got an API, and then you can hit the API directly with curl. And that's something else. That's something else. It's not too far up. I'll be able to tell you guys what to search on if you want to go run it here in a second. I just need to go find it. Spam telemarketers. All right, that's Swappy. Different. Oh shoot, maybe I don't know where it is, guys. I think it was this far back. Ah, here it is, right here. So you would just look at Olama, but this is our using Ansible to hit this Olama after you set it up. So if we were to do, Have any of you guys ever run your own little local large language model? That's what LLMs are. If you want to build it out in the lab, this is a free little lab that Fisherman put together out on Killer Coda, which is a free site. So free site, free lab. You can go in on it, and then all you do, build the lab out. Make it a little bigger so you guys can see it. And it says install Ollama, boom. And we're going to curl to install Ollama. And if we wanted to, we can go look at what this script does, right? On it right now, I have it working in my Discord with a custom bot. Nice, Mr. Extremely. That's nice. Does it respond and check on things? Does it answer? Because I know Fisherman actually has, he did a talk one time where he showed people, he's written it up and he's shown how, because he's got a Python bot that comes and talks to people. So if you guys are in our Discord ever, and you're wondering about that bot that's always being rude to people, it's right here. So, you know, we say, can you say hi to the stream about Linux and being a Unix admin? Right? And then the bot will respond back. It says, sure, guess I can greet the stream. Hello, stream. It's me, Grumpy Unix admin. Linux is, you know. And it does a whole bunch of things. It corrects my name and it does a whole bunch of other stuff in our server, right? And it responds to different people. Like, you can say hi to it. You can sit there and talk to it. But he just runs that as his own little LLM. Google Ollama Docker. Nice. Need to use Llama 3.2 since your RAM was not sufficient. Yeah, that happens, Mr. Extremely. In fact, we were talking about that little tool. Where's that little tool? I think it's one of these over here. Yeah, this little Jetson Nano thing. People have been talking about this, but this thing also tends to lack the real horsepower. It's got GPUs on it, but it doesn't have a whole lot of else. Doesn't have a lot of RAM, which is one of the bottlenecks of running some of these bigger LLMs. Yeah, you got the GPU that can process it, but you don't have a lot of RAM to leave stuff around. All right, so yeah, no GPU detected, so Llama will run in CPU only mode. Fair enough. If we wanted to take this apart, guys, we could just go drop that into, you know, we can actually go look at that and see how this is installing on our system. So if we're really interested in digging into what they're doing, we can do that. Sometimes I show you guys it's a really simple little set of checks that it's doing, and then it's just turning on a service, which is super simple. They just did it as a shell script. You could do, I mean, you could still do complex things in a shell script, guys. There's no, all right, anyway, so then we run Tiny Llama, and it'll download that, and it'll run it. And then we can go look at what's going on inside of the system, right? And then, let's see. Run Tiny Llama. Now, if this is running, we should see all of this stuff going. Hey, how's it going, Marmoots? We're hanging out. Not working too hard. We're kind of reviewing. Well, we're just kind of going wherever technology takes us today. But I'm just kind of hanging out until the wife gets home. So, might be 30 minutes, might be an hour. We'll see when she gets here. Actually, normally she texts me when she's on her way. But yeah, you guys are welcome. To kind of hang out until we get all done. So, all right. So look, this takes a little bit of time. So now we're here. Now we're talking to it, right? And I can say, why is the sky blue? Does anybody here know why the sky is blue? Why is the sky blue, guys? Who knows? Who knows why I think the sky is blue? This is not a very powerful model here, so it's not going to give you as robust an answer as something else. But maybe I might say, can you write a for loop in Bash? I doubt it can, but let's see. Can you write a for loop in Bash? Can it give me that? This one's a little smaller model because this is Tiny Llama. What? Oh shit! I'm out of a job. All right. That wasn't too bad, right? Just hanging out in a little. I mean, this thing is working on this tiny little system here. Ah, you could modify the syntax and then do it more in a C. That's more of a C-like way right there. You can increment like that 100%. All right, well, they don't need me anymore. You guys don't need me anymore. You can just talk to the bot. Actually, I had an idea for that. I need to talk to Fisherman about that. But yeah, you guys really don't need me anymore. Let's ask it something more complex. Let's say, can you write me a simple API call in Ansible? I doubt it can do this. This is going to be a little more out there, but this would be very similar to what while that's going and coming back. That will be very similar to what we found up here, right, on our Ansible code, which I left this up. Oh, wait, where is it? Mama? I wanted this because there we go. Because I wanted to make sure that we had that. I don't think this is going to work, but let's see. I'm curious to see if it works. Sure, it can create an Ansible playbook to form a GET request on the. Oh, well, okay. YAML, host, bars. Sample API, we'll call the right one. Tasks, retrieve URI. Okay. Method, get, headers, accept. Alright, well, definitely don't need me anymore. Yeah, it's secretly Googling the answer. That is funny. Debug message, dump the message out. Man, shit, that's better than mine. Now, let's test it, right? And you say, well, Scott, how are you going to test it? Well, one, I'm just going to grab this. Going to very shamefully steal it. Alright, says I can hit Control D to exit this. Control D, boom. Don't need you anymore. Get out of here. Apparently it's going to come back. The bot's gone through the labs. That's actually funny. We could use an Ansible. We could drop a URL. Oh man, this makes it even better. I can drop the URL from the outside if I want to. All right, check this out. Yeah, because now I can do. This is even better right here, right? Because now I can do it. So. Oh my gosh. Senpai, please stop. Alright, Control D. So, let's grab this. URL is, man, that's great. Alright, so VI Ansible, or let's say llama reader.yaml. In here, we're going to say -- and then we're going to hit enter and we're going to drop that in. Paste. Alright. Now, the example API we have to fix. Escape : WQ. So check this out. ss-ntulp grep for llama. What's llama listening on this system? Llama is listening on 11.434 right here. So now I have to use that in my, this is my URL. URL is Control-Shift-V, that. You can put an HTTP in front of it if you want, I guess. Yeah, it's fine. Wait. Hold on. I'm wrong. I've got something missing. It's that, but it's got an API generate on the end. I was sitting there thinking, I know I'm missing something, but because we need to do the API generate, right? And then by the way, I would have to also put in some data. So this actually will get us close, but this is not going to be exactly what we need. So let's just say that that was a fair attempt there, little llama. It would have gotten us pretty close. But this is what we actually want to do. This will be mine. Here. It's the one that I wrote. You're not taking my job today, computer. D500D, I, Control-Shift-V. So, we're going to ask, what is bash in Linux? And then we're going to get the answer back and then debug it from Ansible. So, we need to install Ansible. Apt install Ansible. Yes. I really should take this, you know, copy fisherman scenario, go drop it down in our Ansible ones, and then add this Ansible to the end of it, and then say that, you know, this is how you would set this up, and then maybe have a challenge where you go and ask it some different stuff. I think that would be good. I think that would be a good thing for people to practice. I think people would like to see this stuff work. This stuff isn't as maybe unattainable as you might think. Ansible playbook llama reader. So it's going to run. Hopefully it's going to call our local API like it should right there. Now this one's not going to sit around and let us know that it's doing anything. It's just going to go for its call. Now I think I added to this the default timeout of this URI call, I want to say is 60 seconds. I might be wrong. So it's very possible that this actually times out. Oh, yep, it timed out at 30 seconds. So now we got to go do something else. We can do it like this. We can say Ansible let's cat llama reader. And then we say Ansible -s URI. This is a different way than I normally do. Normally I just show you guys to go out to the web and look it up, but you can do this and then timeout, and then timeout in seconds. So I'm just going to add it as an argument here. Arguments can go in any order. Let's say timeout is, let's give it 90 seconds. Okay. Escape :WQ. And then we rerun our. Now we got a 90-second timeout. Oh, hold on. I'm going to stop it. And I want to know how long it took. I'll throw a time on the outside of it. So now my system is keeping track of time for total execution. Ansible will also keep track of time of execution for us. Well, only because when we debug the variable, we'll see some time stuff. And also the response that comes back from for any of the llama models I've used. I imagine all AI are like this. The LLM that comes, the time that comes back always returns back the actual response time. So, hold on. Might not have it up there. It might be down here. Created at this time, done true, eval count time. Duration, I don't know what that is. And then it gives us some information about bash. And then down here we see that the real time that it took, the clock time, the wall time, was 24 seconds, guys. Gosh. It obviously didn't take 24 minutes. Everybody would have left stream. But that's the LLM little discussion. If you guys need it, it's up in the Discord. Right? If you want to shamelessly steal it and do something with it, do it. I don't care. It's your stuff, right? We often joke around about, developers are like, sorry, bro, I stole your code. And he's like, it was stolen when I got it, right? It was stolen when I found it on the internet. So, all right. We got down here. Here was ServiceNow. This is a tool that is, it's a pretty all right tool. In this case, they were looking at assignment groups and then some things that had come in, some summaries, and then maybe the risk rating. It looks like these were some kind of critical risks that have been found or whatever. Blue used to be the most expensive color. Nice. Here's another one, Kanboards. I was telling you guys, Kanban is a thing that you'll get into where you'll work with Jira boards. Jira can be Kanban, I think, natively. They have it in there where it's just like, here's our backlog, here's what we're working on, here's the things in progress for the week, and here's the things that are done. And some people run Kanban boards like this as their each week in sprints, like Agile. Some people just run them like, hey, we'll get to the backlog when we get to the backlog. Different companies have different workflows. That's going to be a lot based on how your project manager or your manager in some cases drives this. In some cases, I hate even saying this, sometimes the tech lead, which has been me for the last 8 years, I've been like the tech lead on every team I've been on. Sometimes I've got to drive this, right? So, okay. All right, so administrative tasks. And then I said working with management. Like, working with management is an interesting thing, right? You've got to do stand-up meetings. This is a thing that'll come up often. There's really only 3 things that you want to mention in a stand-up meeting. And typically when we used to meet in person, stand-up meetings were actually done in a stand-up fashion. What did you accomplish yesterday? What are you working on today? What or who are your blockers? Now, when the first 2 are pretty self-explanatory. The first one is, what did you accomplish yesterday? Good, we can move it. 2, the second one, what are you working on today? If management needs to redirect you to put out fires or to do other things, they can do that. That's what the morning time's for. And then blockers, good managers, when they hear a blocker, will almost take that personally. They'll be like, oh, no. People don't block my people. A good manager or good project manager will take blockers and they will drive those into the ground. They will go move that team out of the way or get that manager to get that resource to you. Like, I've had blockers where it's like, hey, I sent an email 3 weeks ago. I sent 2 follow-up emails. They look like this. If you need them, I'll send them to you. But the person's not responding. And then, a good manager, you'll never get that far. But a good manager will, like, take offense to that and be like, what? And you'll get, typically, I get responses sometimes before I even get back to my desk when you do that kind of stuff with a good manager. Slidoid said, studied for RHC a few years ago, doing the Linux Foundation cert right now. Any advice on scope? Hoping to pass it in 6 weeks or so. The Linux Foundation cert, we had a guy pass that one. For me, for scope, I always tell you guys this. So, what's the Linux Foundation is, what's their Linux cert called? It's the LFCS, right? Isn't that LFCS? I think that's it, right? One of our guys passed that recently. Well, it was a while ago now, but yeah. That's it. So, this is what I would tell you. LFCS objectives. I would always look at this. So, they should have the exam, syllabus and whatever, but let's go to their LFCS. I'm pretty sure it's LFCS, yeah. And then let's go down here. You get past the pay stuff. And right here, they should have, here it is. So what I would do is I would grab each of these just like this. I mean, I'll do it for you if you want, but I think you could also do it. Here's the link if you want it. But I'll show you. This is what I would do. I would grab all these, right? Boom. And then I would find out what environment they're in. Like, do we know if they're all Ubuntu or if they're all Red Hat? I would grab all these. I'll go throw them in my notepad. Boom. And then I would put like I'm weird, right? I would be like, X is when I'm done, and O is when I cut. So X, kernel configure parameters, persistent, non-persistent conditions. I know those like the back of my hands. Let's say I can come in here and say, okay, on a system, SH Taraki 19. I can understand. I know where the kernel parameters were set, where I would check them. I know in this environment how I actually set them. This environment's weird because it's Werewolf, so that's actually being set back as the container is pushed to the server. But I can look at my command line. I know where that's set. I know I can always check at the top of dmessage, and I can see my kernel command line parameters. I know how to go change them by either using grubby to affect grub at the command line, or I can go down into boot grub to grub, whatever. You're not supposed to manually modify those anymore, but you could. And you could change parameters so that like your system boots in single mode or rd.break on the next boot. And you do all kinds of stuff like that, right? Typically, you would never be using an rd.break to go to single user mode unless the node was busted and you were doing it at like a boot command line. But yeah, like you have these command line parameters that determine the way that your kernel boots on startup. And I would say, yeah, my goal then would be, and I tell you guys this because I've got a lot of certs. I've got more certs than is healthy for a normal adult, like a normal married, 2-job, well-adjusted adult. I have way more certs than I should, but I was doing them for fun. Let's say I came to this one and I said, diagnose, troubleshoot, identify, manage, and troubleshoot processes and service. And I would put a 0 by that, and I go, I'm no good at that. I don't feel like I'm good. I'm good on this one. I can do kernel parameters, but I can't do diagnose, identify. And I always tell you guys, when I'm ready for a certification, this is how I know. I come to these, and can I talk to this for a minute? Can I look at that and go, okay, kernel parameters set on the command line as the kernel is called. I can adjust them in my grub. I can adjust them on boot by being in a console looking at the system. The difference between persistent and non-persistent. I have adjustable sysctl kernel parameters as the system is running, and those will be non-persistent unless I write them down into an etc sysctl .d directory, and things that are written in here are going to always be there. Like I think we were doing this, we were messing around a while back, and we were setting these values, and now these are persistent. These are hardened on the system. Whereas if I just go and set one of these, I can go modify one of these right now in my sysctl. It will not be persistent later, right? These are the kind of things that you have to kind of pick up and play with and be able to talk to. And LFCS is a hands-on test. So one of our guys, I'm going to do a shout out to him. Hold on, I got to go get my Twitch side of things up. Hold on. On the Twitch side of things, I'm going to do a shout out. Actually, Rogue Dom, are you around? Can you shout out Sending Grounds? Sending Grounds took it middle of this year, so probably about 6 or 8 months ago, or maybe it was a little longer ago. Actually, it was right before, because they had a baby. He wanted to get out of the way right before the baby was born. So yeah, now I think about it, he had just done it. He could probably give you the most hands-on advice, but yeah, come in here and walk through these things, and then let's say you go, well, Scott, this is cool. I can talk to all of these, but I want to get my hands on them. And I say, okay. This is one of my favorite things. I don't know that anybody taught me this. I just this is one of my favorite things to show people right here. Okay, all right. I like to talk about it and show it. Watch this. LFCS. I've never done this before for LFCS. GitHub. Somebody out there has taken the test and they have put together their study notes. And look, and some of these notes are going to be really good. There's no cheating on this test. You either know how to do a discrete set of steps or you don't. So you come up here to the LFCS, and this is the first person's GitHub. I have no idea who Simon Savvy is. But if I come down here, these are the things that he did, right? So I go to essential commands. These are, here's all the weights, the same weights that I just saw. And then I go to his essential commands, and he's telling me that I need to know what a text terminal is, and I need to know a console. Okay. I know kind of some of that, right? I can do like a W and a who, and I see these little consoles, and okay, what's a PTS0? Maybe I got to go read about that, right? Yeah, people out in the wild will do better stuff than this is, by the way, so I tell you guys this, I work with NOAA, which is National Oceanographic Atmospheric Agency. And you guys can go work on weather models today if you wanted to. There's all the data out there. You can go to the NOAA library. I sometimes show you guys the NOAA library, like the upcoming conferences. But the reason the U.S. government gives out so much free data is they have found that people like me that are interested in data will go and tear that stuff apart way better than teams of researchers that are being paid for it. And if you don't believe me, just go to any hobbyist forum on planet Earth. I love NOAA. I think NOAA's great. I built their 2 current supercomputers. I was a big part of building all the Ansible that's under the hood on that. I still have my little CAC card, CAC CAC. This thing thinks I say cock and then it doesn't say it. My closed captioning is like, it won't even let me say certain words. Anyways, neither here nor there. But look at all this. Now I know all these things, but now, oh, okay, wait, here's some commands. They're going to tell me about SSH and tmux. Okay, I need to know how SSH and tmux are, how they work. So yeah, so hopefully I don't want to just like try to spoon feed you a Sladoid, but I would tell you like, this is what I would do. I would go to LFCS GitHub and just go start reading people's notes while your command prompt is open and go, oh man, so I need to figure out how processes work. Okay, there's a whole bunch of processes on this system. I don't know what any of this is. So I got to go read what a PID is. I need to read what a PPID is. I need to understand it's not associated with a terminal here. There's question marks. This one is associated with a terminal. How is that different? Oh, and they're all root, but who's this poll kit? Like, so I need to start figuring stuff out about like commands, because they're probably going to have you do things and ask you questions, or do things and verify things. And like, I show you guys stuff like this, but you come in here and you know, when you see on a process for the parent process ID, that's what PPID is. But your parent process ID, there's an indicator if a process is started by process one is my parent. That means something to me as a sysadmin. That means that systemd started that process. So our syslogd right here, I know, even though it's 903. 903 is its process ID. If I wanted to go find out more about it, I would. But it was started by systemd. So what does that mean? Well, that means systemd has a very specific set of things. I can do systemctl, systemctl. We're going to try this for the third time. grep-i for syslog, right? And I see, there's a service. And I say, well, how did that system start? Systemctl cat r syslog. And, okay, here's the file that I would go modify if I wanted to go break this and mess with it. But here's how r syslog started on my system. So, yeah, Sladoid, man, this is what our Discord's all about. If you jump down, I know Robodom's been showing you guys the Discord link. If you guys hang out down on our Discord, all this stuff, you can ask people questions. Look, some of these guys have been around for years. They know I've never asked for anything in Discord. Like, I don't charge anything. It's a bunch of other similar nerds to me hanging out and doing this stuff. Like, yeah, and we started out, man. We've been doing the group. I've been running this group for 10 years, but it was just me and my friends hanging out. Most of them, I think, came over for the free pizza. I'd get pizza on Saturday nights, and we would just do Linux, right? I did it to make myself better at it. I've been doing it professionally for 20 years now. I've been teaching it for 16 years at the college level. And my goal is, just to, but see, I'm telling you guys the reasons for me that are selfish is it keeps me sharp. Working with other engineers and other people that do this stuff, that's what keeps me sharp. If I just sat here by myself all day and didn't work with other people and didn't get all the cool tech news from the guys, and if Fisherman wasn't in there like building bots and working with AI, I probably wouldn't have messed with as much AI as I have. Yeah, I actually got guillotine choked this last weekend. I've been a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 4 years. I got caught by a brown belt this weekend. He's a young kid. He's good. He's like an athletic dude, and I'm like, he caught me. I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't care about Jiu-Jitsu. I don't care if people tap me in Jiu-Jitsu anymore. I cared when I was younger, but like you get your black belt and then you're just like, I'm just gonna mess around now. Oh yeah, I've been doing it since I got out of the army. Actually, I started in Iraq when I was in the army. So, Frenchman. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's the guillotine stuff. Is the Frenchman? No, or guillotine is the way you're supposed to say it, but the Brazilians say it that way. Yeah, I would tell you, come find one of these that's good for it. Find all of them, and then build your own notes. Right? Start to find other things. Now, we always, I always say this because I'm a guy who takes certs and stuff. Don't look for answers. Obviously, people might have more. Don't brain dump your answers later, but go in there and make the stuff better going forward. Look, they've got Linux Essentials here. Let's see what his Linux Essentials are. He starts with 2 servers. Bolt with, give them some roots and some passwords. Can you jump between the servers? Give them, in fact, in this case, he gives you the exact net mask and everything that you're going to do. Okay. Can you on a server tell me nmcli con show? Can you show me that the interface is there? Can you do an IP-br adder and see the interfaces that are there and how they're configured? I like the -br because it makes it a lot shorter than if I had just done this. When I show that to people, I always use this IP-br adder. It's way shorter. It's nicer to look at. So, and then look. Oh, they show you some nice little sed. Maybe you've never used sed before, and now you're looking at it and you're picking it up. They're changing. So look, sed interactive with a file. Substitute on boot equals no to on boot equals yes on this file. And then let's say you built your Ubuntu and you're trying to follow this guy's steps. And your interface over here, so you do a, you do an IP adder or an if config, right? And your names of your interfaces are different. Well, likely then, and this is a, what type of box is he on? Is he on what type of box was this? Oh, CentOS 7, which is a little bit dated. Maybe you want to go to something newer. But if that's what the lab was using, then that's what it's using. And you might have a different, you're probably going to have an ETH0 here, or you might have an ENP. And you'll just have to go modify this, but all the rest of this will be the same. So you do that, and then they have you update some stuff, and maybe update and install some things, and maybe you got to go mess with that. Yeah, so you've got 2 mini Ubuntu computers. That's fair enough. Also, Sladoid, because you asked, if you ever need a sandbox environment, like if you ever need just 2 computers to test a couple things that are both Ubuntu, you can always go to this lab right here on Killer Coda. Killer Coda is maybe the best free thing I've ever seen put together on the web. But right here, they've got these playgrounds. And if I go to any Kubernetes playground environment, yeah, Kubernetes will be running, but if I just want to do other Linux stuff, and if I want to practice pushing files between my 2 nodes, I can do it in here. If I want to, this is just an environment. They're both going to be Ubuntu servers, right? So maybe I say for, just do a little loop here, for server in, and then we'll say control plane and node 01. And then we'll say, yeah, for server in that, do SSH to $server, and we'll say cat etc splat release. Oops, you do it like that. Done, right? Now we'll hit the 2 nodes, and we'll just see what they are or whatever. Sladoid, if you want to hit Kubernetes hard, there's all the Kubernetes labs in the world out here. Now, this is a sandbox, so this isn't teaching you guys anything. But you drop into base Kubernetes here, or base Killer Coda, and here's a CKA certification track that has like 130 little labs and stuff in here. And these guys, if I tell you guys, like, I actually have it here. I have the CKA cert that looks just like this, because I have my CKA and my CKAD. When I was working on it, I was working in these environments. I also have my own home lab. Yeah, Control Byte. They haven't updated the Ubuntu labs for a while. I have labs out here. That's me, Ansible and HashiCorp, and then I have other labs. My labs are, you can find them anywhere you want. X Shunya asked, any plans for the new year? I'm just hanging out, man. Me and the wife are hanging out here. I don't really do much. Like, I don't go out for New Year's. Probably just hang out here with the wife. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. We don't really do much. We used to, when Ranger was younger, we used to have to always calm Ranger down because he's such a wild, like, he was always so worried when fireworks were going off. But now he doesn't even care anymore. He doesn't even care at all. Let's go check on Ranger again. I think is it getting dark? It is getting dark out here. Phoenix is getting dark. Let's go right here. How's Ranger doing? There's Ranger. He's laying on his bed. He's got his little Linux Tux Penguin with his little hat on. And my wife redid the lights so his tree doesn't look as bad as it did. Yeah, there's good football. In the new year, I'm going to be hanging out with my brothers. We're doing a little meeting for people that want to. I don't really have a big plan for this, but we do have a meetup for just a ProLUG New Year event. And probably it's just going to be me hanging out in there, maybe telling you guys like, hey, did you hit your goals for last year? Did you make any goals for last year? You know, what are you doing this year? I'm not going to like be super preachy about it. I'm just going to be like, hey, let's get you guys doing the stuff you want to do. Let's get a plan to do it, and then let's figure it out. So we'll do that little event. We're going to do some giveaways, so hopefully most people can make it. Anybody that got... Oh, I challenged this the other day, but this still stands. If any of you... this still stands, right? Some of you guys probably think I'm messing around, but some of you guys that have been around know I'm not messing around. We have these certs down here, right? We have certs like the API and then the Chaos Engineering. This is the one I specifically had challenged. We've had like 3 people go get this in the last couple weeks, the Chaos Gremlin Engineering one. If you go get that cert and you go post, you don't have to put your name or anything. Just go put it up in the search channel. I'll show you where that is for people. Up here in certs, certification topics. I think a couple people have posted it up here, like that they had done it, right? So I know for sure Minister of Flower did it, and one of our other guys did it. He told me later. Yeah, get your Gremlin cert. A bunch of us did it a few years back. It's a great primer to get into SRE type roles and understand chaos engineering, right? Which at the end of the day, chaos engineering is just site reliability engineering made to sound cooler, right? And then Gremlin sounds even cooler, right? But you can go get that cert for free. And if you do it, and then you show up to our little group, I'll do something. I don't know. I'm either going to do like little gift cards or like Humble Bundle books. So if you find a little book on Humble Bundle or something that you want for like 25, 30 bucks or something, just let me know. So that's my challenge. And I don't know. I mean, Robodom's here, Control Byte's here. I think the guys that have been around know that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it, right? I don't flake out on that kind of stuff. Like if you go and get that cert, 1, it's good for you. 2, I will always do the whatever thing I say I'm going to do. I will get you we have one guy. I really hope he's coming because he was kind of he's been a really big part of keeping everybody going on the Linux Systems Administration course. So we're going to do something special for him. And we try to do that every year for somebody in the group. And then, we'd like to try to share it around to people, for people that are interested in doing it. Wasn't SRE a cool name for sysadmin? Yeah, SRE is a kind of a, man, it's all very, like, there's a lot of, like, nebulous pieces to this. I think I hear the wife coming. I sit above the garage, and I think I hear the garage door. All right, let's finish out this one that we were on then. Look at all the stuff I got to pile back through to get back to what we were actually doing, which was going through the sysadmin course. We have all 16 weeks recorded. This is just us doing, I'm just kind of going over. I got to week 3, so I didn't do too bad. Oh, wifey is here. Okay. I got to go, guys, but yeah. The agile methodology, you guys should know that kind of stuff. And then, here's how logical volume management works, which we did. You guys built these in the labs. I bet you there's a whole bunch of people that did this lab and didn't even understand any of this, but now they could explain this to you really well. And that was one of my big goals out of this, was to like get you guys doing all this stuff. All right, guys, I got to drop. The wife's here. Let's go to our little end of stream. I appreciate you guys all coming. You're welcome to hang out down in the Discord. I'm sorry for having to leave so quickly and without letting anybody really know. Let's go find somebody that I follow. Who's on right now? Let's go hit Rob. We're gonna raid Rob. I appreciate you guys coming. I will see you guys probably tomorrow. I should be on tomorrow. Take care, guys. Oh, I would have done Bash. Sorry, I'm already started the raid. All right, let's hit Rob up. Thanks, guys.